Anne Miles is a multi-award-winning marketer and entrepreneur. Her company, Suits and Sneakers, is a marketplace for leading pre-approved media marketing and advertising freelancers. Now, Anne created a business after experiencing gender discrimination, sexual abuse and ageism in her career, and noticing that some of the best people were being pushed out or leaving. And learning that stereotyping was at the heart of workplace and domestic abuse, Anne has been on a mission to impact the world ever since. Now, Anne, what made you such a strong voice and on such an important mission with regards to stereotyping?
Yeah, I think I could have been super, super bitter and twisted, but ultimately, I found a way to make my own difficulties that I'd been through and turn it into a positive thing. So unfortunately, I've been through, domestic violence. I also have children who are neurodiverse. And so that's, a whole other world of diversity in itself. I've been treated, substandard in my work and at home as a woman. And then even as I've progressed in my career, ageism came up too. So that's like really full on. And as a woman still working and relevant in the industry in my 50s, I represent like 1%, if that, of the whole community. And I'm going, there's something wrong with that because I'm at the top of my game. So it just doesn't make sense for people to be pushed out. So, yeah, I got pissed off enough.
Now, you've got an interesting take on it as well, or a causative effect that you say that it comes down to stereotypes. So not misogyny, not misandry, not homophobia, not ageism, but stereotypes, you say, are driving most of this.
Yeah, that's right. And that's not the fault of any man or any woman out there either. And I feel like even thinking of the world in just binary terms is limited too. We're not truly being inclusive in that definition too. So it is coming down to those stereotypes that even there are only two genders. That was the other thing that inspired me. I have a transgender child as well. So there are actually, when I counted them up, there's like 20 different classifications of gender. So it's not what a lot of people think it is. And every single thing that I've been through and a lot of what we see in the media and everything, I think you can actually drill back to stereotypes being at fault, and no one group is at fault for that. So there's a lot of things that have to be done to correct it. But you look back into everything and people's perception of, who should and should not be doing things. It all, to me, comes back to some idea in someone's head that I would say could be defined as a stereotype.
Now, this is my wheelhouse as well, Anne. I'm passionate about stereotypes, being a single dad to a daughter. A lot of the compliments, a lot of what we think may be positive stereotypes can actually have a negative role. So the fetishised Disney depictions of motherhood, the only a mother's love, mother knows best, and all the bevy of that actually, it places so much pressure on women to be able to do it. And it may be mothers who are struggling with the normal frustrations of raising a toddler, everything from breastfeeding to sleep deprivation. It can have the impact of making women not only doubt themselves as mums, but actually as women as well, because it's just meant to be natural for mums. Women are just meant to know, and it does a great disservice to the hard work, devotion and dedication it takes to be a mother, because it's just meant to be easy for women and hard for men. So men don't do it, and women should be doing it.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I know for myself, I was in a relationship where I thought I had to do everything because that's kind of what women are supposed to do. And that term superwoman, like supermum, I find really harmful. And what happened for me was that those expectations were, pushed on me, and it meant that I was doing absolutely everything. I also was the breadwinner, which is unusual, but it didn't mean that I had to stop my parenting duties or stop my responsibilities of, running the house and, running all the finances and doing everything. It was quite challenging, and I feel like it just totally burned me out. I just couldn't do it in the end. And, I did leave. the thing that we don't often think about is the impact on those people. I know for myself, I felt like I was living in a box of other people's expectations, and I felt totally lost, like who I was or who I could be. And then the really bad side of it is when you're living with someone who feels self-entitled and a more superior being than you, when you ask for help or, you know, jack up about stuff, then it escalates and it turns into domestic violence, bullying, and mental health problems. So the thing that I know now is there's actually evidence that says that that's not just me, that's actually what the depictions of stereotypes in media are making us all feel we've got to comply with that in our home life, and it's turning us all into, you know, doing harm to each other. And as a woman, I did it to myself as well. So I'm not just saying it was only the man's problem. I felt like I had to do it, or I was supposed to do it. And if I didn't, I was failing in some way. So it's this terrible, vicious cycle, you know.
Well, men do it as well. We live in that man box. You know, it's men that are telling men to toughen up, and that men don't cry, and that men should be the wage earner, and men should work 80 hours a week to be a good father, and men need to be providers. And as you say, when they don't, when they feel that they're being judged, when they feel that they're not as they should be somehow seen, that's what causes those internal dialogues that often causes to lash out.
And I admit that I feel I didn't do that right when I look back now to my partner. And there were reasons at times where he might not have been confident enough to have got himself working, or he wanted to start a new career. And I did know that I was critical of that at the time, and there was this expectation. Well, you know, not just that, you know, we both meant to pull our weight, but it was also those stereotypes, you know, that it was the man's job to be the breadwinner. And when I was that, I was feeling he was failing in some way, and worse still, you know, he thought he was failing because I was the breadwinner on top of everything else. But if we were actually in a more inclusive world, you know, he probably wouldn't have had that pressure, and maybe in the end we just both would have contributed evenly to everything. You know, that would be the dream world, but we're not there yet.
Now, Anne, you're heavily ensconced in the media, advertising, marketing world, which actually tells us how we should look, how we should appear, how we should dress, what we should eat, and what's trendy and hip, and all the rest of it. We have so many brands that are approved, mum approved, and mother's little helper, and all of those things that, you know, it diminishes dad's importance, but also makes dad step back and defer to mum, even when they're trying to be the best, because it's, well, you just know because you're a mum, so what should I do? And rather than be a co-equal parent, suddenly dad's stepped into the role of assistant, and the mental load falls on mum, because those decisions, those driving forces, what should I do when Bubs won't settle? What should I feed Bub? What do you want me to do with the laundry? All of these things that are portrayed in your world, in the marketing and advertising world, as somehow a breeze for mums. How do you, align those two things with the world you're in and your cause now? How do you get people to listen, Anne?
Yeah, I honestly think that you're onto something here. And if you were to say, a lot of the world is very focused on, you know, women's rights and all of that, and that's another topic, I think, which I'm summarise, I think is harmful, actually, and we're not getting anywhere. The data that's telling us that we're going backwards. So we need something new. And one of the things that I feel would make a real difference is for the world to make it more okay for a man to have a role at home. If we can do that and have equal responsibility, and that's then reflected in the laws, and I know you're a big advocate for this, and I'm going, yeah, please. If you could have two parents equally primary carer and not one primary and one secondary, that's setting a benchmark that both parents have the same responsibility in parenting. That would be number one. And then from there, it's how we depict families in media that is like crucial change that needs to happen. I think if I was to say, the problem here, the discussion that comes up a lot is that chicken and the egg discussion. So a lot of marketing and media people say, oh, we just reflect society. So society drives for us, what we depict in media. And the data says that more women are the primary carer or the primary parent at home, and they're the ones doing the shopping. The sales data tells us that, women are shopping for parenting products. So there's no need then. Look at the data. We don't need to put a dad on the package because dads are not buying it. So my point of view is we've got to draw a line in the sand and stop looking at the past with all that data and all that supposed validation that that's our market, because it's not actually reflecting the future. It's also that thing about stereotypes. Some people, don't understand, when it's okay and when it's not okay. So when you depict a stereotype group, like all mums are the parents, and, then dads are excluded. So a stereotype to me has got to be out and questioned when it's causing exclusion. So there are a lot of dads, like you might go, and even, I don't know the exact percentage, you're probably good because you're into data too, but there's a certain percentage of the population that are active dads or even single dads. And if you just keep saying it's women, then you're actually excluding them, and you're less likely to, bring others into that mix as well. So stereotypes are bad because they make you have only one voice, and that's what we have to stop.
Yep. And onto the data, you're right. Currently in Australia, 1 in 5, so we put our hand up. What's that? 1 in 5 single parent households are dads. So that's also the sign for bloody good, but 1 in 5 single parent households are dads. We always hear about the wonderful devoted single mums. The fastest growing family demographic in Australia is single father households, estimated to increase 40 to 65% by the 2041 census. That has a lot to do with the advances we've made in welcoming women into the workplace, but we haven't had a concurrent effort to help dads out of the workplace and into the home. So dads are twice as likely to be refused their request for flexible working. It's still seen as a perk for mums, something we do while she's a mum with kids. So the more that we encourage and mitigate mothers' caring responsibilities and facilitate it, the more we encourage it. So I'm not saying cut it off, but everything has been about making it easier for mums to increase their workload outside of the home while still maintaining their caring load in the household. And this is what's leading so many women just to be burnt out and frazzled, because we haven't focused on, well, how can dad come back into the home? So that's that one-sided myopic approach that sees us harming. But the marketing and media, we've learnt no more pink and blue for boys and girls. That's ridiculous. We've embraced the wonderful diversity of contemporary fathers now, where we've got 2 mums, 2 dads, whatever configuration, and we know that it's the quality of the parent-child relationship, not the sexual or structural or even the location of the family that makes it. So single-parent households, if they co-parent well, the kids thrive. So it's not a matter of, even the pejorative term failed marriage. It's not a failed marriage. It's, a better opportunity for the children to live in a healthy, conducive, loving environment rather than having 2 people go. But as long as the quality of the parent-child relationship is good, that's what needs to be focused on, not whether mum and dad can tolerate each other under the one roof.
Yeah, I so agree with you. I debunked the myth of the, traditional family and the, 1.6 children or 2.3, whichever argument you're into. And I worked out that the traditional family is like a minority now, and that non-traditional family actually makes up 67% of our population. And yet marketers still have mum, dad and 2 little kids, with mum, having the this leading role in the domestic stuff, and dad's sitting back and playing sport in the backyard with the boys, while mum and the daughter is doing domestic duties in the kitchen, or drinking champagne in the kitchen kind of stuff. Like, we really have to have that stop, as it's absolutely not reflecting like Australia, how it is now, and let alone where it's heading in the future. Like you said, it's definitely moving. And marketers are just behind the game on it.
Yeah, hopefully, if there's a silver lining to the high divorce rate, hopefully it'll be that children will see, well, there's no mum jobs and dad jobs, there's just shit needs to be done jobs. And regardless, when I'm at dad's, he's doing the washing and the domestic duties. When I'm at mum's, she's they're both going off to work, and that's how it should be. Now, Anne, where can people find out about you, and what can they do to further the cause?
Oh, thanks so much. I appreciate any help, because I'm on this mission. Sometimes I feel like I'm on my own until I find someone like you. You could probably find me best at my website. So it's Anne Miles, ANNEMILES, like kilometres, .com.au. And on there also there's a link to a petition that I'm trying to get government intervention to look into the self-regulation system. And there's some really big sort of challenges around that. It's actually very difficult to get these sorts of changes to happen. None of the depiction of women and men in our media as one of the, stereotype type problems, none of that is regulated at the moment. And also what happens if anyone wants to make a complaint about any ads they see, there's like one for outdoor advertising, one for TV, one for radio, one for, none for packaging. So it's just all messy, and no one even, and the data tells us people just don't have any faith in it, even if they did complain. So we're in really big trouble. So I'd really encourage everyone to help me with the petition. So you'll find it on my website. Right. And I really appreciate the chance to get people to see this. It's like that we're lifting up the curtain and revealing just how dirty it is underneath. Yeah.
Great. All right. Anne Miles from Suits and Sneakers, thanks for your time, and really appreciate your advocacy in this area.
Thank you so much for having me.